you know who made it.
Hello and welcome to the See Me, Be Me podcast. We've got another episode with another incredible guest joining us today. He's a digital futurist, a tech entrepreneur, and a passionate advocate for diversity and inclusion in the tech industry. With a career that spans across digital marketing, technology, and social innovation, Dan Sodergren is a true change maker. Whether he's founding groundbreaking startups or sharing his insights on the future of work, Dan is someone who doesn't just talk about the future, he's actively shaping it and informing us about it. I'm excited to dive into Dan's journey, his mission, and the profound impact he's making in the world today. So let's get right into it. Dan, welcome to the See Me, Be Me podcast.
It's an absolute pleasure to be here, and thank you very much for such a warm introduction. My mum will be very happy about all that, as well as my agent. So you made me sound fantastic. So thank you very much. I don't think you do a better job of marketing than I do marketing myself. So thanks very much, everyone. Thanks, lovely to be here.
No problem at all. So Dan, obviously we know you're a digital marketing guru and you're now an expert in AI, and I've known you for about maybe a good 6-7 years.
Yeah.
But the one thing I've not spoken to you about is the early days, and you know what? How did you get basically your career and how you got into marketing? So can you tell us a bit about your early years and what experiences or influences from your childhood that I wanted to talk to you about today that sparked your interest in marketing and tech?
Well, yeah, it's a great question. So, I don't want to go back too far. I don't want to go to all starting in 1976, because that's how old I am. So I'm not going to do that. That'll take too long. And when I do trainings and keynotes for companies, I do kind of, depending how long they've booked me for, I do relatively long intros of telling you all about it, a bit of the story. I'm not going to do that, people. Don't worry about that. I don't want to get into that too much. But certainly, I've always been interested in communication, psychology, communication, thinking, that kind of stuff. My background comes from, I was like the only black kid in the village, right? Back in the day. This is like 1980s. Racism was very rife, and it wasn't a great time to be the only black kid in the village. So I had to learn very quickly how to be able to speak quickly, communicate well, to make a good argument, and not get beaten up continually. This was the point. So you could argue that's kind of marketing. So I was kind of marketing and promoting people not being mean to me since about the age of 6. So I've always been. Well, I'm not the biggest chap in the world, so fighting was not an option. My brother's built like a proverbial big house, should we say. He's very good at sports, so he got all the muscle and I got some of the brain, right? So I had a choice of talking a lot. He had a choice of punching a lot. He was very good at punching. I was very good at talking. He's not a keynote speaker on the world stage at the moment, nor is he a boxer, though, to be fair. So he could have done better with punching. Anyway, so I had two choices. So I went into marketing really by default, getting to know about people, different cultures, but also psychology about, what are the people's potential trigger points and motivations and thinking. That actually all wraps into things like, even dating and all these things wraps into marketing, right? But the actual truth of how did I get into marketing is because I started a company from university called THTC, the hemp trading company. And it actually started off with something called hempology. We were teaching people about hemp, which is the non-narcotic version of cannabis, good 25 years ago. Basically, we started stuff, we did things with CBD oil before it was called CBD oil, by the way, by about a decade. Anyway, there we go. So I was trying to save the world and be environmental there. Did that for a good few years. Started off as, hempology was a university society, which then grew into a nationwide movement, and then it became a company. But in that company, none of the people in there wanted to do marketing. Yeah, and I was already quite passionate because I did law and sociology and majored in psychology at uni, and so I'd always been interested in kind of advertising and talking and persuading people, right? Because law is really persuading people. Technically, it's marketing once again, right? Persuading someone from one state to another. So it all kind of come together. Nobody else really wanted to do the marketing. I took over the marketing, and because we did this thing called guerrilla marketing, which is how you do marketing with not very much money, which is all about psychology and the power of not having to use a brand, but using clever tricks and other stuff. That became another company because people kept asking me to do their marketing for them. I then had another company called Spearfish, and Spearfish was an arts and events company and a marketing company. Yeah, after selling that and then going to Mexico. I'm not going to tell you the whole story about Mexico, but I came back with only £3 to my name, lost all my money in Mexico. I always say in my intro, my advice to you is don't sign a contract in Spanish unless you speak Spanish. It's particularly stupid. So lost all my money in the beach playing beach volleyball. I technically own half a hostel in Isla Mujeres still, but that's a different conversation. Anyways, came back, £3 to my name, and was literally going to be thrown out of the house and be in deep, dark trouble. And an old business mentor of mine said, tell you what, Dan, why don't you come and tell the story of Spearfish and how you started that company, inspire the next generation of entrepreneurs. And I did that. And when I told that story and did a little bit of marketing for them, my first gig at MMU as a guest lecturer, I got paid £50 for the afternoon. And that £50 meant I could pay my rent. And so that became the legend of the story, which then from that, there was a gentleman there who was from the council. The council then got me to do stuff. From that, there was some from the government. So I started doing stuff with the government nationwide. And that kind of grew that company. And so that was great marketing work, which is most probably where, and how I know yourselves is it's most probably through that rather than through AI and stuff, because it was about 8 years ago that we met. So yeah, and then I've been helping people start their own businesses or, have careers for the last, 20 years. Most probably done social media marketing for 15 years. This is how old I am. 10 years of mobile marketing, and then 5 years of AI and machine learning and NLP stuff. So there you go. That's almost not quite from birth, but pretty close to, right?
Wow. And then, Dan, just reading into your background from your bio, you call yourself a tech futurist. So what does that mean to you? And also, was it a tech optimist?
Yeah, tech optimism is literally the point that I think that technology makes the world a better place. And each time it happens, you'd be amazed how many people, it's just like AI is a great example. You'd be amazed how many people look at AI and artificial intelligence and say it's going to be a bad thing and are pessimist about it and the fact it's going to take over the world. It's all going to be, the Terminator and we're all going to die, right? And I always think that I understand that prism of understanding, but if you look at it globally, not everybody thinks that. Because not everyone's seen the Terminator, so not everyone instantly says Skynet. You look at countries, well, it's funny, but you look at countries like India or look at Japan, and the stories they tell about AI are completely different. They are beautiful, lovely stories, and most of them are quite cute. So they have a very different view of AI and computers than we do. It's only because of the stories we tell each other, right? So you instantly go Terminator, everyone, everyone proves themselves. So I'm a tech optimist. So each time technology happens, and you can see this throughout history, by the way, the world becomes a better place. And it tends to be the technological trigger that changes the world. People believe that it's people that change the world. You look at a great example would be slavery, right? Everyone says, well, it's slavery, and it was, Abraham Lincoln or whatever it was. Actually, look behind the scenes. It wasn't. It was because technology got so good that actually having slaves didn't make any sense anymore. So that was the reason why it wasn't a morality reason, which is why at the time people were still against it, because they didn't see morality. There wasn't a morality point. It was a technological point. Same principle with something like, the invention of the printing press. That created the Reformation, for example. The Reformation created capitalism, right? And then you see, the invention of computers or the internet. All these things, it tends to be that the world gets better and better based on a new technology and technology helping the world. So I'm a tech optimist.
Now, Dan, you often speak about the fifth industrial revolution. So how do you see this transformation impacting industries and workforces in the next decade?
Well, the fifth industrial revolution is it's a book that I wrote around this idea. What's happened is that artificial intelligence, which I'm very, very lucky because I knew people like Dennis Hablis, who was one of the kind of main founders of an AI company called DeepMind. And so Dennis then sold that to Google for 458 million back in the day. But I've been speaking to Dennis for like 20 years. And it's only by luck because of the village I was born in. And I knew a friend of his who was his best man. So just by complete luck that I know Tom, who invested in one of my businesses, and I know Demis through Tom. So Demis had been talking about AI for a very long time, like for a very, very long time. It all really comes from gaming. This is what some people misunderstand, is we've been doing AI stuff for a very long time through gaming, which is why it all runs on GPUs rather than CPUs, right? That's why NVIDIA is doing so well and all this stuff. Because the underneath principle, we look at things like Sims and all these other things, it was all AI in the making, right? Technically, if you played a computer game against the computer, you played against an AI. Because you did, it's an artificial intelligence, just within the constructs of the game. And if you expand that into the world, you could see that artificial intelligence was going to become massive. And this is the fifth industrial revolution, but it's not just artificial intelligence. It's not just data and artificial intelligence. My book, we talk about there's 4 intelligences that you're going to need in this new future. The reason why I call it the fifth industrial revolution is people have to understand that this is an industrial revolution. It is not it's not like social media. It is not like the advent. I mean, you could argue the advent of computers and automation. Okay, yes, that was an industrial revolution. But this in fifth industrial revolution, you have to understand it's a paradigm shift. Okay, so it's the same as, you're all sitting there working in the fields, and then there's a tractor there, and it's powered on steam, and you go, oh well, they'll never take over. 95% of us used to work in the fields, right? In agriculture. The industrial revolution meant that we didn't. Now we're going to have this next industrial revolution, which is the fifth industrial revolution. And the reason why I call it the fifth, so people separate it from the fourth, but it's not just artificial intelligence. It's artificial intelligence, it's emotional intelligence, it's going to be operational intelligence, and even independent intelligence. So this next bit of this next eon, really, of human existence, we're going to be thinking a lot less like we did in the fourth industrial revolution, which was really around automation and computers and businesses getting bigger and all these different things, right? The fifth industrial revolution is much more to do with being entrepreneurial and being independent and using AI. AI gives you the opportunity now, especially if you work in marketing, you can become 400% more productive using AI. But you can learn how to use AI in an afternoon. This is insane, right? And all you need is a laptop and access to the internet, and you can change your life. Now that's why it's a revolution. But so many people don't see it, don't see the power of it, don't get it, don't get the fact that the thing that Sam Altman did, which, by the way, between me and you, he was never meant to do, by the way. This whole Elon Musk and him falling out thing. Got to remember, Elon Musk gave him the first 100 million, okay, to start the business, and that's why it's called OpenAI. Technically, Sam's the bad guy in this, by the way, because Sam wasn't meant to give everybody OpenAI, Chat 3.5, which is why it's 3.5, by the way. That's why it's not Chat GPT 1. Yeah, because it's not. It was just halfway through production. He wasn't meant to give it away to the world for free, and it's made that situation much better, right? But it's made it better for us. But technically, all the AI bots got together around a table. This is no word of a lie, and all decided to not give it to mankind because it was too powerful. That was the deal. Yeah. So Sam broke the deal and gave it to the rest of us for free, which is why all you need now is a laptop, internet connection, and you can get into LLMs that should cost you thousands of pounds to do for literally £20 a month. Yeah, it's insane. And now, of course, every company has to do the same as Sam, and everybody has to start giving away AI for free, which is why it's a revolution. It's just like everybody getting their own factory for free to do with whatever you want with human compute and human intelligence. It's insane. So you can now, not only could you do something like, I don't know, A, learn how to use it, because that's very important. B, you can now, very soon, you're going to be able to do things like clone yourself, to be able to do a digital twin of yourself and what you can do, but the machine will do it for you, which means jobs are going to become a thing. May not necessarily the past, but AI is not going to replace you, but somebody using AI will, because the person using AI will be 3 times quicker and better than you are. And so just imagine, you kind of really put your head out there and go, but if I can make a digital clone of myself and then make 10 of them, I can then start being my own company. It's nuts what's going to happen. Hence the revolution.
You know who made it.
And what's really interesting is with artificial, because everyone just says AI and everyone's going towards this average general intelligence, the reality is for us as human beings, what we actually want is small amounts of intelligence, small language models that are really good at certain things. Like, I don't give a monkeys if my dentist is an amazing dentist but knows nothing about Man United Football Club, because I don't care. I don't care that you can't play tennis. You just want it to be a good dentist, right? So I don't want to be able to go to him and say, dentist, tell me everything about the world of gardening. I don't care. You're a gardener to talk about that, right? But this is what we're doing with AI. So AI right now, I think what we're going to see, should I say, in the near future, is that AI becomes much more specific in its different roles. And then what gets exciting about that is the organizational intelligence you need to have is to start rethinking what a job really means. What does a job really mean? What is the human part of a job? Yeah, what are the bits that the AI can't do? And that links into things like collaborating, potentially more into sales, things that need deeper emotional human connection for it to work. Innovation, maybe. But there are so many of these bits which AI is starting to get into that I start to wonder, if there's an area that AI can't get better at humans at. But I'm hoping there is. I'm hoping that in the world of the future of the work, there is a job for us all to do. Or I'm really hoping that universal basic income comes in, but that's a different conversation.
That was going to be one of the things I wanted to talk to you about, is the role of AI and data privacy and ethics. You know, for a company, for an entrepreneur or a business manager or whatever, should people be concerned about the sort of information that they're uploading onto these AI platforms, and whether their data is secure or encrypted?
It's a great question. But just even in your language use there's most probably three questions in one, right? Yeah. So is it encrypted? Is a different conversation to is it, is your data safe? I know it feels like it's the same, by the way. It's not quite, right? And does the LLM so this is I've got to be really careful with words. So I'll give you the short version of this because it's going to be easier. And it is if you're not paying for a product, you are the product. Okay, so just be aware that is the way the internet's always been. Yeah. So if you're using social media for free, it's because they're harvesting your data. Okay. Yeah. Now they'll say they're not, because they're not, but they are, because that's their business model. Because they're not harvesting your data because they don't know who you are, because they're going to, they're going to make it all anonymous, right? But the data is being. It's a bit like, how's WhatsApp free? Because it's a data mining tool, and it is. There's no point in thinking it isn't, because it is. There's no way of saying it, because it is, right? That's why they paid for it, right? So why is Instagram so amazing? Because it has advertisers on it, and that's why it's free. So they're selling you as the product because they advertise. Advertisers pay for the site to get you as a target demographic, right? Facebook, all of them. You're telling me now that with AI, they're not doing the same. Yeah, they are. They're just going to say they're not, and I don't mean that in a bad way. It's the principle of the internet. Right. So what we're giving at the moment is a tremendous amount of data. Which is why Sam's move is so clever. Give it to everybody for free and then harvest their data. Now, if you look at the terms and conditions in Twitter right now, it harvests your data for feeding the Elon Musk AI machine. It's very deep in your terms and conditions, and you can turn it off. You can opt out. Most people haven't even seen it. They've never opted out. Right. You'll also notice that you will have got, same as me, a raft of different emails from loads of people saying, we're updating our terms and conditions. Yes, because the terms and conditions now say, yummy, 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 all the data in my tummy. That's literally what they're going to do, right? Everything will be doing this. Now, as a small business, or just any big business, and I talk to massive organizations about this all the time, we've been tempted to use LLMs for free with business information. Yeah. That is inherently dangerous. It has to be. Now, they would say, no, it's not, because we never take your information. I don't believe them, and I don't understand how they wouldn't, because they always have. Okay? So, should you put financial data through a free AI system? Absolutely not. Okay? Should your business have an AI policy? Yes. Should you as managers be paying for the paid version of GPT-4 so it's better protected? Yes. You should all pay £20 a month to all your employees so they can become 40 to 400% more productive, but your data is safe. Yes, you should. And that's a big, that's an adult conversation that CEOs should have been having, right? But you'd be amazed, and I'm talking about massive companies. They haven't even started to have that conversation. Their CTOs are panicking. Everyone else is using GPT 3.5 for free, and they're putting stuff online which they shouldn't. It's tremendously dangerous. Now, there's another thing you can think about. And by the way, this is similar to the conversation, because I'm so old. We had cloud conversations years ago. Should you have a server in your house, or should you put it in your office, or should you put it on the cloud, right? And loads of people own servers for a long time inside their businesses, because you can firewall them, you can protect them, all the rest of it. This is now the same with AI. So the question, years ago when it was like, you can't bring your own phone to work. Oh my God, if you did, the whole thing will burn. You must be too young, but the whole thing will burn down, and the CTOs, everyone had to have a BlackBerry, and that's why everyone had BlackBerries. Fucking ridiculous. Sorry, I promise I wasn't going to swear. But very ridiculous, because actually there was no reason for it. It was just a tech problem, right? Now, nobody talks about bring your own device to work, do they? No. When have you ever heard anyone say, have you brought your own device to work? Of course you do. Same thing with AI, right? So are you bringing your own AI to work? Yeah, you are. Are you paying for the AI? Well, luckily, your organization understands that you should, but loads of people use it for free. If you're using it for free, that is a bit of a no-no. If you're using it for work for free, I'd be worried. If you're using it on a work computer for free, I'd be worried. And if you're putting company information into it for free, I'd be terrified. Because the only reason that you're not fired is because there's no HR policy to fire you. But there will be, and it'll be very, very soon, because that's a bad thing to do as an employee. It's worse, though, that leaders haven't, and the bosses of businesses haven't told you the dangers yet, because they don't know the dangers yet. That's worse. It's really on leadership of businesses to be able to go into their employees and say, oh, right, this new thing called AI, we've had a bit of a meeting, we need an AI policy, please don't use free ones because that could be dangerous. Instead, we're all going to give you the paid for ones because we know they're safer. And in fact, as a company, we're going to create our own AI on a small language model, which is inside our servers, and you can use that one instead. And that, my friends, is what we call digital transformation. And that's what large businesses should be doing, but they're not, for reasons that only human beings know, which is not liking change, panicking about change, and sometimes it's somebody's job to keep stuff the same. But those days are numbered, because the companies that use AI will become so much more profitable than the ones that don't, that the ones that don't will disappear.